Welcome back to Cogeco News. With us in studio today is a local litigation lawyer, Annette Casullo. We're here to talk about the holidays and things you should watch out for. It's a pleasure having you here.
Well, thanks so much. I'm happy to be here.
You know what? I actually was quite interested in having you come in today to talk about this. I mean, things are ramping up with like holiday Christmas parties and things in businesses and socially on a personal level. And I think it was a great idea that we reached out to each other and connected on this. So I guess my first question for you is, let's focus on the business side. There are company Christmas parties and all that. What's involved legally when running a Christmas party, really?
Well, you as an employer have a lot of obligations to your employees and certainly into the public at large. This is called it's a form of host liability. This is social host liability. There's commercial host liability for restaurants, bars, but social host liability is where you're not, you're serving alcohol not for profit. You're throwing a party, you're throwing a Christmas party, a staff appreciation event, and you're serving alcohol. And you have an obligation, there's a legal duty on you to ensure that you aren't letting someone drink and drive and endanger the public.
Okay, so in that respect, what kind of steps should employers be taking? I guess actually this transcends even if like I'm hosting a party for my family and friends. It's the same thing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
Okay, so what are some of the things that we should be looking out for and have ready with us when we're organizing these events?
Well, you first of all want to, I mean, if it's a home party, I don't know if it's your staff party and you're having it at your office. You want to, travel or transportation is really an important aspect of throwing a party for sure. So if your staff, if it's the parties at the office and their cars are there, you want to think about how they're going to get home at the end of the party after the day of work. So you might want to offer to pay for cabs, or if it's a large enough company you can afford it, you want to hire maybe a transportation company, a little bus or a minivan to drop people off at home. Same with a party at your home. You might want to ask your guests not to come by car, to perhaps make transportation arrangements, or if you can afford it, have a car company go and pick up your guests and bring them to the party. That's something you certainly want to establish. Then you're taking positive steps to make sure nothing untoward happens later.
On the roads, yeah.
On the roads, absolutely. And that's the biggest issue. I mean, certainly you're worried about your guests injuring themselves, but what about innocent third parties who are walking down the street or driving their child home?
So, everyone, I'm sure, that are watching right now, they're aware that companies are supposed to take proactive steps to make sure that we are safe at these parties, and of course it transcends as well to personal parties. But so, what's the worst that can happen when you don't follow these things? What are some of the consequences, at least?
Well, likely you'd be sued.
Yeah, okay.
Right, which is where I would come in. I litigate these kinds of issues, many kinds of issues. When it comes to personal injury particularly. If I have hosted, or if someone has hosted a party, they've let someone leave and that has been drinking and they get into an accident, whether it's an accident where they're injured just themselves or they've injured someone else, the host becomes a ready target, if you will.
And that's not just employers, that could be like you or me.
Absolutely.
Really?
So if you're hosting a party at your home, you have the same duty in law. You have a duty to your guests to make sure that they're not intoxicated and out there driving.
Okay.
So other things you could do to assist, make sure you greet your guests. So this is more so when you're having a party at home. Obviously, if you're having a party at the office, you'll see people during the day. But greet your guests when they come and see if they've been drinking. If they come to your party already drinking, you have actually a bit of a harder job ahead of you, right? In terms of monitoring. Have non-alcoholic beverages available. Have food available. That helps to absorb the alcohol. Salty drinks will make you drink more, so try to stay salty snacks, but healthy food for sure, non-alcoholic drinks. You'll want to have the numbers of cabs ready in case your guests have driven. And don't be afraid to say to your guests, I don't want you driving home, will you give me your keys?
Okay, okay. And I mean, but what about, I know we talked a little bit about this off air, but what about that guest? You'd be like, no, well, I'm not giving it to you. What's the solution there?
The solution, honestly, and it sounds harsh, but I would call the police. I'd go so far as to call the police. It is much better to have a friend angry at you the next day than have that friend either injured, seriously injured, or injure someone else.
Right. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, and you know what, too? They probably in the end might end up being grateful.
I believe that they would. You need to give them some time.
Yeah.
But I think ultimately they would be grateful.
Is there any other quick tips before we wrap up here that we haven't discussed yet that might be a good idea to keep in mind?
Well, also, I mean, if you're hosting the party at your house, you want to make sure your property is safe. So make sure you've shoveled your driveway, salted, clear of ice. Cords are set away, stairs are cleared. All those are issues too, because when you're hosting people at your home, it's not just about people drinking, it's about making sure for their safety, just in other ways too.
Well, also too, I wanted to ask, is there extra steps like insurance or something like that I know employers tend to have that, but homeowners as well, could they get additional insurance for anything that may happen that's kind of unpredictable or?
I think that if you're holding a specific event, you might want to get insurance, but in this social host liability that we're speaking of, your homeowner's policy will cover you if you are sued.
But what if you're not hosting it at the home, like you're at a restaurant or
at a restaurant? Well, the restaurant will have
so you're
liability.
covered in that. Okay.
But as an employer, there was a situation similar to that, and as an employer, you'll be sued for sure. And I don't think there's a policy of insurance you can get for that.
Okay.
You would be on the hook for sure.